Ladies, gentlemen, it is Blackson, be raging, coming to you in quarantine. I know it's been a few days since I made a video, but here we go. If you like the content that you see, if you found this helpful in any way, shape, or form, please like and subscribe. And in today's video, we're going to get into the final role, which is skill builds. So let's get into it. And I'm sorry guys if I sound kind of like out of it. I'm just like a little everywhere. And I in fact feel it coming on right now. But I'm going to try and get through this vid with no problem. So now as you can see here, mainly it's a skill-based build. The hardwired gear set does have it does come rolled with a skill tier. That's good water. It comes rolled with a skill tier, but just to get a little extra damage, I did roll them with weapon damage. Now, as you can see, I am running the Technician Specialist, mainly because it adds one skill tier to your bar. So now, if I can, so yeah. That's why you would want to run the Technician Specialist specialization, excuse me. So now with that out the way, let's get into some gear pieces that will help you with your skill builds. Now skill builds, in my opinion, are, they're the most versatile role because of this, because you can deal lots of damage, or you can go for like a kind of support role with repair skills and things along those lines. So I feel like skill builds are going to be really versatile because you can do a lot of damage. You can be a support character, be a support role because skill mainly falls into the support role anyway, or you could just be like a medic type guy. So some of the gear pieces you're going to want to look at, depending on which one of those roles that I mentioned within skill that you want to fill. Alp Summit, as you can see, you get repair skill, skill duration, and skill haste. So this is going to be for those medic type skill builds where you want to heal. Murakami covers both, where you can do the damage and the repair, but it's more repair because you do get more repair. Hana Yu I really like because it's that skill damage, but you also get a little bit of that weapon damage if you're looking for a little bit more solo, or just in general rather. What else do we have here? We have the hardwire guild, the hardwire guild set. I'm saying guild set. So yeah, hardwire as far as gear set goes is one that you're gonna want to look at. Now, as we go into your skills, as you can see, these three skills right here. Well, Sticky has two, but these were added with the Warlords of New York DLC, so you won't be able to get these three skills unless you have the Warlords. The rest of them will pretty much come with the base game. So basically how skills work is that it's in tiers now. So as you can see here on my right, you have these tiers, and basically these, when you have like these little those little yellow slots, let's go here, like you can see on these armor, these little yellow batteries, those will give you a skill tier. And basically it makes your skills more effective and more powerful depending on which one you're going for, repair or damage. So for example, the Revive Hive, as you can see here, you get more charges, more revived armor. So basically when you get up the amount of armor you have, you get more range and you get more health. So that's how it kind of works with repair skills. For damage, as you can see, I'm at tier 5, so I have 100% damage, so double damage, and I have plus 350% health. Let me take another swig of water here. Alright, so yeah, these are some of the gear pieces you're going to want to look at. And that's how skill tiers work. So some other ones you may want to look at is Golan, because some skills do apply status effects, like the Stinger Hive applies bleed. So if you want to go for that status effect damage, you can put one of these on. Richter and Kaiser is a repair, goes more for repair. What else? System Corruption is more like defense from skills, where as you saw, you have the at 3 pieces you get disrupt resistance and pulse resistance, and pretty much that's pretty much it. Well, China Light you can also look at as well, because if you're running a demolitionist build where you have the artillery turret, and the artillery turret does, of course, explosive damage, as well as it can apply that bleed damage. So China Light is a very, very, very good set to look at. If I can just get this charger in my headset. Alright, there we go. So yeah, that's one of the other sets to look at. Wyvern Wear is also good for skill damage and status effects. If you're going for damage and status effects, that's another one to put on. So yeah, skill builds don't really have a lot of pieces to look at, but they do have some decent exotics to look at, which that'll be its own separate video. So now let's head on over to the trusty recalibration station, and let's look at some talents. So some talents that you may want to look at is Kinetic Momentum, Spotter, Empathetic Resolve, Explosive Delivery, and Skilled, and also Spark, as well as Tamper Proof as well. And I think there's another one. Yeah, I think that might be it. But to go through it real quick, in tag team as well. So let's start off with tag team. The last enemy you have damage with a skill is marked. Dealing weapon damage to that enemy consumes the mark to reduce active cooldowns by 4. So this will basically help with skill haste. It has a cooldown of 4 seconds. Kinetic Momentum, when in combat, each skill generates a stack while active or not on cooldown. These stacks increase total skill damage by 1% and total skill repair by 2%, up to 15 stacks lost when they're on cooldown. Skill kills have a 25% chance to reset skill cooldowns. So basically, anytime your skill gets a kill, there's a 25% chance to reset the cooldown. Spotter, which amplifies total weapon damage whenever you use the pulse skill. Those enemies who get pulsed take both skill and weapon damage. Explosive Delivery, so basically whenever you throw a skill like the remote pulse, your hive, your turret, anything of that nature, there will be an explosion around it 1.5 seconds after it lands, and it has a 5-meter radius. I'm not sure. I don't. You can't use this with Mad Bomber because I was just thinking that for some reason. But anyway, the damage scales with skill tier dealing 25 to 100% damage of a concussion grenade. So really good for some more extra damage. Here's more of a support one. Repairing an ally increases their total weapon and skill damage by 3 to 15% for 10 seconds. 1 to 7% if it is yourself. And the effectiveness, of course, gets scaled with. So yeah, and those are some good talents to look at if you're going for a skill build. Of course, depending on which you're going for, if you're looking for something with some weapon damage, you of course want to go for something like Spotter or Empathetic Resolve. Now to go down to Spark. Damaging enemies with a skill increases total weapon damage by 15%. So another one if you're looking for weapon damage. And then Tamper Proof, basically enemies that walk next to your hive, turret, or remote post, they'll get shocked. Takes 5 seconds to armor, which is before it activates. It's a 5-second delay before it activates. And the cooldown per skill is 10 seconds. Oh, Entrench. I almost forgot Entrench. So, no, Entrench. I thought it had to do with skills. My bad. So, Tamper Proof, Spark, ER. I'm going to just call it ER. Explosive Delivery, Skilled, Spotter, Kinetic Momentum, and Tag Team are the ones you're going to look at. So, you have a lot of talents for. So, let's go on over to backpacks. Backpack talents. Now these are where I feel like skill based talents shine the most. So first up, excuse me, to go through them, you have Combined Arms, you have Energize, Calculated, Tech Support, Shock and Awe, Overclock, Protector, Creeping Death, and that's pretty much it for the skill based ones. Some of them do fall into skill, like Wicked with status effects, but that's more of like a damage based one. So anyway, Combined Arms. Shooting an enemy increases total skill damage for 25% for 3 seconds. Basically, whenever you shoot an enemy, 3 seconds, your skill damage will be increased by 25%. Basically good for like if you have an enemy that's like really tanky or like a boss and you just want to focus all your firepower on that NPC. This is really good for focusing that firepower. Or even if you have your skill attacking someone else, this will help your skill cut down some of those numbers. Energize. Using an armor kit grants +1 skill tier for 15 seconds. If you're already at tier 6, it'll grant Overcharge, which is like, it makes your skills really powerful in terms of, you know, the bonuses that they get. But it has a 1-minute cooldown or 60-second cooldown. Tech Support, which is the one I tend to lean toward the most. Skill kills increase total skill damage by 25%. So basically, says what it says. Whenever your skill gets a kill, its damage gets increased by 25%. I really recommend running this when you have like a turret and a drone out, or even like any mix of like the Hive Stinger or like those three skills. Calculated. Kills from cover reduce skill cooldowns by 10%. Basically, as long as you are in cover and you're shooting from cover and you kill people and you kill the NPCs from cover, you'll get 10% reduction on your cooldown. Next, Shock and Awe. Applying a status effect to an enemy increases total skill damage and repair by 20% for 20 seconds. So If you're running a status effect build, ongoing directive, so long as you have 4 pieces, goes really well with this. As long as you apply a status effect, you don't have to kill them. You're gonna get that damage and repair by 20% for 20 seconds. Next up, Overclock. Allies within 7 meters of your deployed skills gain 25% reload speed and reduces their active cooldowns by 0.2% each second. So basically you have a proximity based thing going on here. Whenever allies are close to your, well, within 7 meters of your skills, they gain reload speed and they get reduction by 0.2 seconds each second that they're, as long as they stay within that 7-meter range. Protector, here we go with another so yeah, really good if you're running a shield and you want to be like a defense guy and defend your guys, especially if like somebody falls but you got other guys up. You can kind of help your teammates up just with a little bit more armor. And I think that's pretty much it as far as skill ones go. In fact, Galvanize could fit in there too, because of your chem launcher has the riot foam and also the firefly, which has a blind. So yeah, actually this can fit into that. So whenever you apply a blind and snare, confuse, or shock, pretty much most of the status effects to an enemy, you get 40% of your armor as bonus armor. Oh, excuse me. Good lord, I'm like, I'm fucked up. Fucked up, people. Yeah, whenever you apply any of those status effects, blind, ensnare, confuse, or shock, it grants 40% of your armor as bonus armor to allies within 20 meters of that enemy for 10 seconds. So as long as you apply one of those 4 status effects to an enemy, and your ally, one of your allies, are at least within 20 meters of that enemy, they will get 40% of your armor as bonus. So for this one, you're gonna want to run your stinger hives, your ensnare, chem launcher, anything that'll apply a status effect. Now for attributes, the attributes you're going to want to be looking out for is these last 4: skill damage, repair skills, skill haste, and status effects. Repair skills max roll 20%, skill damage max roll 10%, skill haste max roll 12%, and status effects is a max roll of 10%. So pretty high, especially with repair skills. And of course the core attribute skill tier, 1 is the highest, so if you practically take any skill tier off of any gear that has it, you're already max rolled. So yeah, that's that pretty much covers it for skill builds. And the best specialization you're going to want to run is of course the technician, because you get that extra skill tier. Remember guys, if you enjoyed the video, if you felt like, so yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and remember, rage out and peace out. And speaking of out, I'm out. Later.